All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well today. This is the NBA Tournament Strategy Show, where we do a quick look back at yesterday's slate, see what went well, see what might not have gone as well, and then we walk through today's slate, do a quick little overview, get our brains thinking about what we might want to do on this slate, and then with the pre-log show, which is at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we work on the implementation, talk through leverage plays, core plays, things of that sort. So yeah, let's jump right into it. The pre-lock show is only for VIP members. So if you want to be there for that, click the link in the description. Feel free to use promo code BOB for a 10% discount. If not, that's fine too. Guys, this was the 100K winning lineup last night. It was interesting. For me, my slate was solid. Honestly, I stopped watching because I tilted pretty badly when Wiggins on the Thunder didn't do well, but I actually ended up being barely profitable, which is fine. So solid slate for me. Could have been better if I didn't have Wiggins, but happens. What really saved my slate was DeJounte Murray. If you guys watched this show, I think I talked about getting exposure to Lillard and then pivoting off him if we found out Trae Young was out. Might have said that here. If not, we definitely talked about it on the pre-lock show. Somehow was able to have DeJounte Murray as a core play once we got the Trae Young news, which was nice. Bradley Beal, we had at least a min on. I don't remember if he was a leverage play or not, but we at least had a 10% min on him, which was nice. Anthony Edwards was a leverage play, so that worked out pretty well. Keita Bates-Diop was a domination station play. We talked about him on the pre-lock show. We had natural leverage on him, so that panned out pretty well. I had zero exposure to Zach Collins. At least I don't think I had any. I might have had him in like maybe one line. I don't know. But I didn't have a lot, so didn't win 100K. Bogdanovich was a guy we talked about on the pre-lock show, and we talked about him on this show too. We talked about the last time Trae Young was out, Bogdanovich and Hunter were actually the two guys that had the highest usage rate. So that panned out pretty well, had some decent exposure to him. I was not on the Klay Thompson bandwagon. I had a decent amount of Steph Curry. He was a leverage play for me, and B-Dubs. B-Dubs, good to see you in here. Wayne, also good to see you guys. I know B-Dubs had Steph Curry as a leverage play, and you had Clint Capella, I believe, too. So Clint Capella made the winning lineup, so definitely was a solid slate all around. Definitely could have been a lot better if we had a slightly stronger core, but, it happens like that sometimes. All in all, that was yesterday. Let's move forward to today. We have a nice 5-game slate. Should be an interesting one. We don't have a ton of value. There's some spots that I'm already getting tempted to try and avoid just because everyone keeps talking about it, but that's just me. But we'll get there. Dave, hey, I hit the like button and subscribe, please. Yeah, I really do appreciate that, man. If you guys could hit the like button, subscribe. We're trying to grow here, so all the support always helps a lot. Kaboom said, we're here, y'all. Let's get it. Always good to see you, man. Adolfo said, any advice on settings or rules for the domination station? Yeah, we can start off with that. So like I said, 5-game slate. For me in the domination station, I leave all of this the same for NBA only. And then I use tournament mode. You don't have to. I only use one unique for NBA, but that's just me. Number of lines you do, whatever you're doing. Projected ownership cap, I don't touch. I do uncheck, force a player from the last game to a flex position. That's just me. Then I uncheck, prioritize completing lineups above min/max exposure, just so I'm controlling what the domination station does. You don't have to do this, but I'm more of a hands-on controlling person, so that's my style. And then I move it to a 0% randomization for the reasons I mentioned. I like to have complete control of what I'm doing when it comes to NBA. But on occasion, on like a 3-game slate, I don't know about a 5-game slate, I will increase this a little bit just to mix things up a little bit. And then no rules really for me. Really, I keep it pretty simple, nothing too crazy. So guys, yeah, let's dig right into this slate. It's going to be an interesting one. Starting off, we've already gotten some news pretty early for the Miami Heat. We have Jimmy Butler currently listed as on track to be available. Gabe Vincent is currently listed as on track to be available. That does make this slate a little bit more boring, to be honest with you guys. I was kind of hoping Butler and or Vincent would be out so we could take some shots on guys like Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo, maybe even Kyle Lowry. Because one thing that you'll realize when you start to make lineups on this slate, we're struggling for some value. And there's a lot of payout options that people are going to want to get. And I think it's going to make ownership up top very interesting. So unfortunate. I mean, good for them, I guess, but unfortunate for us that they're going to be playing, or at least they're on track to play. Duncan Robinson's out still. Jovic is out still. Yurtseven is out still, so no crazy surprises there. As of right now, I don't love this matchup against the Cavaliers. If it wouldn't shock me if one or two guys from this game ends up making the Nuts lineup. It's a 5-game slate. I am tempted as of right now to consider taking shots on guys like Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, or Bam Adebayo, but I'm not loving it as of right now, so I'm not going to set it in stone, but those are things that I'm considering as of right now. Thomas, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. Next up, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, the reason why I'm not super high on this game in general is because the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers both play at a very slow pace. They're both very defensive teams. It's going to take a guy being very, very efficient to perform here. So that's why, for the most part, I'm just really meh on this game. Cleveland Cavaliers are relatively healthy. Kevin Love is probable. Dylan Windler is out. Nothing too crazy here. Donovan Mitchell returned last time out from his injury. It was a blowout. Hard to take too much from that game. He didn't play a ton of minutes in the first half. Only like 11 minutes. So some concern here around, like, is he going to have a minutes restriction? We don't have a ton of clarity on that yet because of the blowout. So it's a situation where, at least as of right now, I'm not super high on him. Again, I'm not high on this game, but it does make Darius Garland, if he's going to be super low owned, slightly more interesting for me. So a guy to consider for sure. All right, moving on to more interesting games. Probably the game that everyone and their mom has been talking about already today is this Los Angeles Lakers against the New York Knicks game. Very, very big piece of information here is LeBron James is currently listed as TBD, so we don't know if he's going to play with that ankle injury or not. We had a feeling Anthony Davis was going to play today. He is expected to play, but LeBron James, Coach Ham, did say that he's been dealing with some significant soreness, so that's something that we have to actually consider that he might not play. If he is out, then that does give us a little bit of value. I know I had Rui Hachimura as a core play yesterday. That didn't really pan out, but he wasn't awful. With Anthony Davis playing, I'm less interested in taking those kind of shots, but I would, just because probably just out of necessity if LeBron James is out. But assuming that they don't both play, that really makes guys like Schroeder, Rory, even Westbrook less interesting than they would be if those two guys were out. Anthony Davis is another interesting situation. Oddly enough, on Saturday, he didn't start, and that was expected. Coach said he wasn't going to start, but he did start the second half, and he ended up playing 33 minutes. The game did go into overtime. B-Dub said Braun is playing. Ooh, okay, let's see. Is that official? I have not seen that yet. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. But maybe I've missed it. Okay, yeah, that just came in 7 minutes ago. Okay, LeBron James is playing. So these value options are getting less and less viable. Oh, this is going to be an interesting slate. So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing for me here is really going to come down to Anthony Davis. If he's playing 34 minutes or even 30 plus minutes on this slate, it's going to be a little bit of a tougher matchup than I think people are assuming it's going to be. It's hard to tell in like the last two games because the Lakers with AD have only played like the Celtics and Spurs, not really centers that we're afraid of. So you don't really expect them to have good games. But the defense does improve when Anthony Davis plays. So everyone and their mom is really high on Julius Randle. I like Julius Randle too. But if he's going to be a core play for everyone, I'm probably going to look in another direction and look towards like Brunson, RJ Barrett, and probably focus more so on Giannis and Jokic. Again, that's just how I play. You can do the opposite and go super high on Julius Randle because he's in a really nice spot. And he's been in fantastic form as of late. So there's a lot of really good reasons to play Julius Randle. But for me, on 5-game slates, I like to get weird, and that's more than likely how I'm going to do it. I'll probably have some exposure to Randle still, but I'll probably be under the field. Outside of that, it's hard to take a shot on AD here or LeBron, in my opinion, but I do understand making a case for it, but not my favorite spots. I think for me, it's really going to be Brunson and Barrett trying to get some mid-range value. Sims has been starting in place of Mitchell Robinson, who's out for the Knicks. Sims is a very low usage guy, very low point per minute guy, and really just kind of all around someone that's not super exciting to play. But again, we are struggling to find value on this slate, so it would not surprise me at all if Sims ends up increasing in ownership. At 15% ownership, if he stays around that, even if he's in like that 30% range, I would be okay with matching that. If he ends up being a core play for a lot of people, I'm probably not going to jump on that bandwagon. Troy Brown had a fantastic game yesterday. That was good to see. A little bit of a shocker. Surprised he didn't make the Nuts lineup, but strong performance from him. But that's not really relevant for me on this slate. So no one else is really on my radar as of right now, but definitely a game that I want to try and dig deeper into and try to find some hidden gems. Randy said would love to get a 300-point lineup. Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel it. It's weird. Like I used to be more like that too, like really want like a certain point, but here lately I just haven't been thinking about it like that. It's just kind of like just want like a top 100 lineup or like a top 50 or, win first. Next up, we have the Clippers against the Chicago Bulls. Clippers have a relatively healthy team going into this. Paul George was not on the injury report. Kawhi Leonard was not on the injury report. So those are like the two big names that we care the most about are looking like they're going to play today. Marcus Morris is listed as questionable. Reggie Jackson is listed as questionable. Robert Covington is listed as questionable. So some names that matter a bit, but really the guys that I'm interested in here are in like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has been in fantastic form as of late. He's had multiple 50-plus performance games over the last few games, so he's really starting to kind of put it all together, which is nice. Paul George is looking like a nice mid-range value on this slate, which we're desperate for, and that's why you're seeing his ownership spike a little bit. Good spot. I don't hate it. I do have some concern just when this team's relatively healthy, but if I would feel a lot better about it if Marcus Morris missed time today. But I plan on having exposure to both. Now, the tougher part, and the one that I kind of want to just walk over, is the Bulls side of it. DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine are really, really, really tough to decipher between. Thankfully, a lot of us are using multiple lineups, so we can kind of mix and match exposures. But I do like to have one that I go heavier on than the others. As of right now, I'm thinking it's going to be Vucevic, but I'm on the fence still. So more than likely it's going to be a Vucevic potential leverage play for me day, but we'll see. Patrick Williams on the Bulls has also been a guy that fits in very well for a lot of those like mid-range value plays. It looks like he's going to be relatively popular, so he's not sneaky by any means, but I think he's definitely viable here. We're looking for value, and for me, when I'm looking for value, I'm looking for guys that are playing minutes, and Williams kind of fits that bill. Not a core play or anything like that, though, but just a guy that I'm okay matching the field with, or maybe even going like a little bit higher on. Let's see. Anyone else? I don't think anyone else is really standing out too much for me as of right now. So, yeah, I think it's safe to move on from that. The Bulls were relatively healthy. Derrick Jones is probable. Marko Simonovic is probable. Javonte Green is out. Lonzo Ball is out. Nothing too crazy there, to be honest with you guys. Next game, we have the Charlotte Hornets against the Milwaukee Bucks. Sorry, I was trying to click that game, and it was just giving me a hard time. But yeah, for the Bucks, we have Giannis listed as probable. Bootchamp listed as probable. Bobby Portis is out. No surprise there. Cody Martin is out for the Hornets. Kelly Oubre is out for the Hornets. Chris Middleton played like 18 minutes last time out. So he's slowly but surely seeing more minutes, which is nice to see for him. Connaughton and Joe Ingles see a little bit of an increase with Portis out. So for that reason, like Pat Connaughton's definitely going to be on my radar on this slate. He's going to be on most people's radar. The Hornets, we can attack in really whatever freaking way we want to. They are not a good team. LaMelo Ball is interesting in theory. He's usually a guy I would want leverage on in this spot, but he's been dealing with that ankle and wrist injury this season. He just hasn't looked right. So I'm not trying to pick on this Bucks defense here. Even though like my instinct is like, this is a nice leverage play, I just can't bite that bullet. I know he went to the locker room at halftime on Sunday too. Like he did come back. He's playing. He's not on the injury report or anything like that. I just don't feel good about it. So I'm not going to do it. But if you guys like taking shots on those kind of guys, you definitely can, because he should come in at low ownership. For me, I prefer Brook Lopez. I love playing bigs against the Hornets and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Hornets have, oddly enough, done pretty well at stopping Giannis this season from having explosive games. But I do take game logs into consideration, but that's not the only thing I look at. The Hornets haven't been able to stop bigs all season. I'm really just going to ignore the fact that they've been able to stop Giannis, and I'm expecting him to have a big game today. So I'm going to be heavy on Giannis again. More than likely, I'm going to be pretty low on Randall and increase my exposure to Giannis and Jokic. Drew doesn't stand out too much for me today, but I'm okay with having some exposure. Rozier is interesting. Since I'm probably not going to match the field on LaMelo Ball, I'm considering having Rozier as a leverage play for similar reason. Like I like the upside, and the lower ownership is interesting to me. But it's something I need to look into a bit more before I lock it in. Members of the body said, love Brolo today. Yeah, I'm on board. Brook Lopez, like bigs against Hornets, I will take that every single time. It doesn't work out 100% of the time, but when it does, you're like, yep, there we go. And then when you don't do it, you're like, oh, wow, how did that guy go off? And you're like, yeah, facing the Hornets. I knew it. Bigs against the Hornets. So these days, I just do it every time. Octavius said, is Rubio good value or does he have to start? Rubio. Let's see. I want to see how much he is. Rubio. He's viable at 3,200. I personally just need to dig a little bit deeper into his minutes and the consistency there. I think it could be a little finicky, not knowing how much Donovan Mitchell's going to play, but at 3,200, I'm okay with taking the shot. He's just a viable value play. I wouldn't say he's good or bad. He's just an option, since we don't have a lot of great options. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I need to double check. Is that everything? Brook Lopez, Gordon Hayward, Pat Connaughton is on my radar. We mentioned that. Grayson Allen's getting decent ownership. I'm okay with that. Probably just matching the field or a little bit below that. Ingles is more interesting to me. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, members of the body said Mark Williams as a backup Flyers projected well. Opportunity cost is tough, though. Yeah. Opportunity cost here lately has just been tough across the board over like between today and yesterday. But yeah, Mark Williams, 3,400, definitely viable. Again, like unless we get some random stud star being out, we're going to have to play some of these guys that we don't feel very comfortable with, like Ricky Rubio, like Mark Williams. Again, that 22% ownership is tough. So tough. Yeah. Man. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I'm fine with it because it just makes sense and trying to build lineups, and it's so hard to get Giannis and Jokic in the lines that you're going to have some of these gross names in there. Uh, but this is something that I'm gonna have to dig a lot into, like just trying to find really good value that I feel comfortable with, and I might have to make like just like a safe, consistent value play, a core play, just to be able to fit in all the studs I want. So that's Mark Williams for you. If that's Ricky Rubio, like those are definitely guys that could be considered options, but I just want to personally dig into it a bit more before I kind of say that that's what I'm doing. But definitely guys that are on the table and viable. Anyone else? Not really interested in Plumlee too much, but if the Domination Station gave me some, I'll be okay with it. But not my favorite spot. And then we have this last game on the slate, a nice 2-hour buffer between these games, which is going to be interesting. As of right now, Brandon Ingram was not on the injury report. CJ McCollum is in. Dyson Daniels is out. Zion is out. The Nuggets have Jamal Murray listed as questionable. That's pretty important news. Most of us know at this point when Jamal Murray's out, that's a boost for Bruce Brown and really all of the starters. See an increase as well. So if Murray's out, then that would just increase my interest in Jokic, who I already like a decent bit. Now increase my interest in Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Bruce Brown. Honestly, guys, I am totally fine playing this mid-range for the Nuggets, and I plan on being over on them. The thing that's giving me a little bit of hesitation on being super excited about these Nuggets is that the Nuggets don't play back-to-back until this weekend. So it wouldn't shock me if they let Jamal Murray play here and then he takes a break later on this week. So I'm reserving my excitement for this potential spot. But if Jamal Murray's out, I'll be so pumped up for this game. Outside of that, on the Pelican side of things, there's some interest here. I know Ingram had a solid game. He's been in solid form as of late. His minutes are slowly but surely increasing. At 2% ownership, I can almost guarantee I will be over that on him. Similar story with CJ McCollum. I've been playing point guards against the Nuggets all year. I will continue to do that, especially at low ownership. That's just going to happen. How much over I'll be, we'll see on the pre-lock show. I'll have that confirmed by, but almost you can lock in leverage plays for those guys if their ownership stays that low. Joe Val is a fine play. I think there's centers that I like a bit more, but if I get some exposure, I'm fine with it. I'm not super in love with these pay down options for the Pelicans, but again, like if the Domination Station gives me some exposure, I'm not going to try to fight it too much. In general, I just want exposure to this game, and so that has to include like Herb Jones and guys like Larry Nance. I prefer Herb Jones, but Larry Nance can be fine too. If you guys can't tell, like this is just going to be a slate that you're going to have to be uncomfortable with it. And so I'm just trying to stomach that and let that settle in. It's going to take a while, but I'm just going to have to bite the bullet on some of these gross plays. I think the one thing I'm trying to remind myself for later is to not go too heavy on some of these gross plays, because when we don't have great value, it's easy to fall into a bucket of like forcing bad value. And again, like bad value is relative, but like on a normal slate of like 10 games where we have a decent amount of guys out, we wouldn't have like 80% Jose Alvarado. So I'm just trying to avoid doing that. It's fine to like match the field, go 30, 40 maybe, but I don't really want to go above 40 on some of these questionable guys. You can always like take that risk. Like I'm not trying to stop you guys from doing that, but that's just how I'm trying to approach the slate. Octavius and members of the body both mentioned Kevin Love. Watching Kevin Love, not happy about it. Octavius said, I like Kevin Love. You know, let's see. How much is he? He's been solid lately. 3,500. Oh, man. I was hoping he was more expensive, so it would be a little bit easier to avoid that. But yeah, I mean, I understand the case. He has upside. I wish he had more consistent in minutes. Similar story to Zubac. Like Zubac is another guy whose minutes are freaking all over the place and can break a slate potentially as well. It's just one of those slates, guys. I if you like Kevin Love, man, do it. Just do it. I'm not gonna try to talk you guys off of it. Members of the body said Porter Jr. and Murray, similar ceiling versus salary. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty high on these Nuggets guys today. I'm trying to limit how excited I am, but I like it. At 5,700 too. I'm on board, man. All right, guys. So yeah, pretty early. Not strong takes. I think probably the biggest thing for me is that I'm probably more than likely just going under on Randall. Probably the biggest thing. But outside of that, we'll figure out who our leverage plays are and core plays on the pre-lock show. So I appreciate y'all for joining. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I look forward to seeing you guys on the pre-lock show. Have a good one. Oh, Bobby said, I'm going to need a drink before tonight's slate. Yeah, I'm going to need like 2 or 3. So I'll be right there with you. Y'all have a good one. Peace out. Bye.